Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to the segment of Coach Gurbani. We recite a sabad today from Bhagat Namdev. We were doing Kabir. Now the transition is to Dhanasari, Bani Bhagat Namdev Ji Ki. The recitation, Ik Oankar Satgur Prasad, Gahari karke नीव खुदाई, ऊपर मंडप छाए, मार कंडे ते को अदकाई, जिन तृण तर मुंड बलाए, हमरो करता राम स्नेही, काहेरे नर गर्भ करत है, बिनस जाए झूठी दे रहाओ, हमरो करता राम स्नेही, काहेरे नर गर्भ करत हो, बिनस जाए झूठी देही। मेरी मेरी करो करते दुर्जन ते पाई, बाहर जोजन छत्र छलैता, देही गिरजन खाई। सर्ब सोइन की लंका होती, रावण से अधकाई, कहाँ भयो दर बांधे हाथी, खिन में भई पराई। दुर्भाषा स्यो करत ठगौरी, जादव ए फल पाए, कृपा करी जन अपने ऊपर, नाम द्यो हर गुण गाए। So the first verse, Gahari karke neev khudai. Literally, it means digging a very deep foundation, or a deep foundation is dug, and then upar mandap chai, one raises a lofty pavilion above it. This is also a hint on our own construction, which has deep roots. Markande te ko adkai. Who is greater than Markande? Markande is a mythic sage. Jin trin tar munda bulai. Even Markande was, despite his intense devotion, proud. Spiritual pride overcame him. So this is a sort of an architectural metaphor, if you will. The human tendency to build impressive outer structures while ignoring the fragile inner foundation. So Markandeya, who had conquered death symbolically, is being invoked here simply to expose the illusion that external achievements or austerities, of which he practiced many, could be disguised, subtle, haume, I have attained spirituality. Spiritual pride is also haume. So instead of I being the karta, Namdev says in the Rahao, Hamaro karta Ram Snehi. My karta, the person who is working through me, is my beloved Ram. In other words, it is not the ego that is working. And so Namdev questions us. He says, Kahere nar garb karat ho. O human, why are you filled with self-pride, or why do you engage in pride? Engaging pride in binas jai chuti dehi. This body perishes. So egoic pride, which perishes, versus Ram Snehi, relational grounding with Ram, which is the sustaining principle of life. So the false body is not really your body itself, but identification with the transient, what is not permanent. This is inflated self-reference, the ego, which he brings up in the second stanza. Meri meri karo karte durjodhan se bhai, bahra jojan chhatra chale ta dehi girjan khai. You're always crying out, I, me, like Duryodhana. This is an antagonist of the Mahabharata. So what Duryodhana represents is possessiveness and a sense of entitlement. So Bhara Jojan Chhatra Chale, his canopy stretched 12 leagues, yet in the end, Ta Dehi Girjana Khai, in the end, his body was eaten by vultures. So that expansive ego structure that he had, represented by the canopy, this is the inner voice of mindness that ultimately collapses, eaten by the passions. And now he gives us the example of Ravana from Ramayana. Sarb soin ki lanka hoti, Ravan se adkai, kahan bhayo dar bande hathi, khinmay bhai parai. Sarb soin ki lanka, there was the city of pure gold, greater even than Ravan. What became of it? The elephants tied at its gates, yet in a moment it became another's. So Ravan, the mighty king of Lanka, embodies intellectual brilliance, but one that is fused with arrogance and domination. The golden city of Ravana is magnificent, but an impermanent construct of egoic achievement. So even though elephants, which signify military and material security, in a moment expose the illusion of permanence. So this self-importance with which we walk around don't last. The last stanza talks about Durvasa, who had a fiery temper. Durvasa syo karat thagauri, jadav e phal paaye, kripa kari jan apne upar, naam dyo har gun gaye. So deceiving the sage Durvasa, the Yadava clan, of which Krishna was a member, were cursed. They died early. But Namdev says, I am the servant. Because I am the servant, I have been bestowed with grace and I sing to the virtues. I actually cultivate virtues. The Yadavas, you see, had mocked Durvasa. And they were cursed and they destroyed themselves through internal conflict. So this is a psychological warning. Restraint, wisdom, and self-regulation. All of this can still lead to self-sabotage. In contrast, Namdev says grace and praise, humility and remembrance are stabilizing structures. So you have Markandeya, spiritual pride, ego disguised as devotion; Duryodhana, possessiveness, entitlement, mindness; Ravana, grandiosity, intellectual arrogance, empire-building ego; Durvasa and the Yadavas, disrespect for discipline, impulsive mockery, which leads to self-destruction. So this is Namdev not narrating mythology to us. He's actually mapping the inner psychology of egoic inflation and collapse. So the fundamental message is that all outer structures, wealth, austerity, power, lineage, intellect, are unstable when they are rooted in pride. Only in relational grounding with the sustaining principle of life, Nam, will produce coherence. So use these mythological names as mirrors of your own inner tendencies and try to understand which of these you are afflicted with. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.